I'd like to call a special call city council, regular session for April the 5th, 2023 to order. Everyone will stand for the, pledge of allegiance or remain standing for the invocation.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather and conduct the business of our citizens. We ask for your guidance, and what we do is pleasing in your eyes and for the betterment of our community. We ask you to look after our citizens, our first responders, and our nation. In your name we pray. Amen. Ms. Sykes, we call the roll.
Mr. Jernigan?
Here.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Ms. Young? Here. Mr. Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Witt?
Here.
Mr. Dial?
Here.
Mr. Kennon?
Here.
Chief Butler?
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened to public meetings. Since 1968, the city code has prohibited any person from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the city council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There is only one approved manner of addressing the city council, that is to be recognized and speak from the podium. As a reminder, the persons are not to openly carry a handgun or carry a concealed weapon or firearm while the governing body is meeting. We have a couple of proclamations. National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April 9th through the 15th, 2023, whereas emergencies can occur at any time, require law enforcement officers, enforcement, fire, and emergency medical services. Whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first contact our residents have with emergency services. Whereas these unseen first responders provide an essential service to the community and to the police and emergency personnel with compassion, understanding, and professionalism. Whereas public safety agencies nationwide celebrate how important public safety telecommunicators are in providing support to law enforcement, fire services, emergency medical services, and other government field personnel. In 1991, Congress proclaimed the second week of April as the nationally noted week of recognition dedicated to the men and women who serve as public safety telecommunicators. Whereas Lake City wishes to recognize our public safety telecommunicators for their commitment to performing their duties with integrity, accountability, and respect at the highest level of customer service. Now therefore, I, Stephen M. Witt, Mayor of the City of Lake City, do hereby proclaim April 9th through the 15th, 2023 as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, and the City of Lake City do hereby recognize the Lake City Public Safety Telecommunicators for their outstanding service and commitment to the citizens of Lake City and Columbia County. If members of dispatch and law enforcement would come forward. The next one is Water Conservation Month, April 2023, whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida Water Management District and the City of Lake City utilities are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation. Whereas the City of Lake City and the state of Florida have designated April typically a dry month when water demands are most acute. Florida Water Conservation Month to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. Whereas the City of Lake City Utilities has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events. Whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. Whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. Now therefore, I, Stephen M. Willis, City of Lake City, do hereby proclaim April as Soil Conservation Month and urge each citizen and business to help protect our precious resource by practicing saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to save water. Mr. Oliver, want to come up? Okay, we have minutes from March the 20th, 2023 regular session.
I move to approve the minutes as published.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the minutes as published. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda as published. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, we're in the public comments. Got quite a few tonight. We got Monty Ashby.
Good evening, everybody. I'm just here tonight as a concerned community citizen. And here over a year now from Orlando, Florida. And since the beginning, for the first time I came and hear about the Richardson Center ordeal with the city and the county, it reminded me of Sugar Ray Leonard and No Mas fighting. But we don't have to fight. I'm just coming to say that for the love of the children. I'm a mentor. I've been mentoring for years. Living in California, LA, and New York, and Chicago, raised in Cleveland. I've been in the bigger cities, and I come here to a small city. And I said, why can't we get these things done? As far as having a place not just for recreation, and I think that's key. I am a part of a mental group, and a lot of these things can be had in that center. It ain't just about basketball. It ain't just about pickleball. It's not just about sports. It's about the whole gathering up everything inside of a person, and it's not about sports. I have young men who I mentor, and I tell they all want to be football players. I was that close because of injuries that kept me away from there. And I asked them, I said, so what if you get an injury? What are you gonna do? So you gotta have a backup plan. So there again, mentoring in that center, doing things that's gonna enhance the children. Because what I find is that, unfortunately, they're raised by individuals who mean well. And it's not just in the small cities, in the large city as well. Because mamas and daddies are grandmothers and 30 years old, and so they don't really have a grasp on how to raise their children and who's suffering the children. And the children are suffering because we as adults can't come together to find the best thing for the child. And so I'm just here just to talk for the children. They don't have the voice, and they have to just deal with life depending on how we as adults have it. So I'm just pleading that the city and the county and the community, I'm knocking on doors. Come to PTA. Come to see about your kids, what's going on in their lives, So they need help. There's another thing that can be had in that center. Have people to come in and give classes and this type of, but I do feel that the center has so much more it can give besides recreation. So thank you for listening. I just come with love with everybody and wish the best.
Thank you. Okay, next is Sean Bond.
Hey, how y'all doing today? I come forward, might be a little out of line here about the casinos. I personally owned one when the city shut them down, and I had no trouble when they made me shut down. So what is the right for the bingo station to have illegal machines and stuff in there, and they come and close that part down and allow them to stay open? When they shut me, slapped down, send me a letter, I got 10 days to get out, or legal action will be carried on out. So, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, you cater to one side and not the other. I'm trying to understand this. You know, I mean, if that's the case, then I throw a bunch of computers in there and throw bingo and throw a bunch of machines in there myself. But no sooner I do that, I'll get shut down again, but they stay open. How's that right?
I didn't know they had machines in there, so.
Well, they just got shut down long ago. Because they got caught with machines, but they let us, the bingo part stay open. You know, and that's just it. And then, you know, I come back to ask y'all to reconsider on bringing back the casino, because people, they come in, it was a recreational thing to them. I mean, I understand it got out of hand, there was more than needed, but I mean, you can always put a limitation on it. I mean, you could allow so many. And you know, everybody's talking about, well, we don't know how to regulate them. Well, there is easy ways to regulate them. It's not hard to do. So with that being said, I mean, everybody's saying, oh, it brought trouble. Well, the liquor stores get knocked off, the S&S's. You know, I own one, ain't never had a problem with one. You know, never had the cops, nothing. So, you know, with that being said, you know, I ask for y'all to do judgment on reconsidering reopen, but limiting how many's allowed. So, I mean.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that you own a casino and the city came in and just shut you down?
We were sent a letter.
And give you 10 days to get out?
Yes, sir.
So you saying that the bingo station had the same as you did, and they allowed them to stay open? They didn't give them time to shut down or anything like that? Is that what you're telling me?
From my understanding, they shut the games down, but they allowed the bingo station to stay open.
So you're saying that they had a front?
Yeah.
They had the bingo station as a front for the casino?
Yes, sir.
So instead of our law enforcement or the people who did the raid in there, they allowed them to stay open?
They're still open.
I agree with you, Mr. Sean, that was not right. And in fact, Mr. Sobel, can you come up here and address this for us, please?
Yes, sir. Basically, we did shut the business down for a short period of time. They removed all the illegal gaming, I guess machines or whatever you want to call it. They have the right to reopen after they removed those machines out of the facility itself. That's why they are still open. The bingo part, their earnings that they make goes to charity. That is legal in the state of Florida. So I just want to let you know that we did shut them down. They're legal to operate the bingo part of it. That's all I got.
So you're saying that, Mary, you mind? So you're saying that just because they were bingo and they were doing something illegal in there, you allow them to stay open because of the bingo station? Is that what you're telling me?
That's correct.
Well, I don't think that's right under no circumstances. And again, this is an opinion, and I will research it with the attorney. They should have been shut all the way down and kicked out just like everybody else. That's the right way and the fair way of doing things. There's one thing called rulistic and there's one thing called realistic. Realistically, they violated. Realistically, they had a front of the bingo station and running the casino out of it. They should have been shut all the way down, period.
I agree, but that was not left up to me. That was left up to my director,
And who's your director?
Steve Brown.
Okay. Thank y'all. We'll look into all that. Okay, next is Randy Carter.
Good evening. My name is Randy Carter. I'm with Gulf Atlantic Pump and Dredge. We are in the process of reviewing the opportunity to purchase the property at 614 Marion Avenue. It's the old 84 Lumber Company, old Scotty's property. We are under the understanding that there is a lien against the property for a significant amount of money. And we would like to ask the council to look at that and see if there's a way to get that lien forgiven so we can proceed forward with the purchase of the property.
Mr. Randy,
Yes, ma'am.
if it's okay, Mayor. It's okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Do you own the property?
Not yet.
Okay. So if there's no, I would recommend that, once the property is owned, I wouldn't, I would say the property would have to be owned, once you own the property. And I passed there today and I looked over it and I did notice that you all have started cleaning up, and that's very important. As you can see, we're working on the beautification of that
Right,
strip.
right,
So,
absolutely.
that's certainly appreciated.
I understand that that was the issue for the liens, was the property was not maintained and maintained in a current manner. So what we're trying to do is acquire the property and then renovate it afterwards. But presently, our financial people will not provide the means to move forward with that amount of liens against the property. So that's why we're trying to get that, even if it's a conditional release, that would be great.
Well, I would agree with the conditional removal of the liens. We give you a grace period, and if you don't meet that grace period, then.
Right. Well, I think at this point, we spent the last couple of days doing basic cleaning, mowing, removing some vines and things like that. The front building, of course, is going to take a good bit of time to do renovation or updating or whatever the final disposition of that is. We have not yet firmed that up until we get in and do an engineering review of what's going on in the property. They're just getting in to review the property, examine the property, get an architectural engineering review of what needs to be done on the property. We know we can do that on the front side with some fundamental cleaning, getting the fence rows clean, reestablished, the grounds maintained and updated so that it blends into the rest of the area. We agree that that should be done as soon as possible and have already started that. We've got debris dumpsters out there, people that worked out there yesterday and today, and we'll continue doing that over the next week or so to get that property looking like it should fit in.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
So you're buying it, the person you're buying it from who's the liens against currently, do they have a mortgage lien on it or anything like that you're aware of? Have you done title work yet?
The title work has been done. I think there is some lien, I think there's more than one lien. I don't know all the details, but I believe Mr. Marshall knows what's going on with the property.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
I understand, the condition that we're looking at here. I think what needs to happen and what's happened in the past, packet gets put together, going through Mr. Subin in his office, and get all the information, what the liens are, what you're planning on doing, and bring it back before the council on the next meeting so they can make an informed decision on the way they need to move forward.
What information would you like me to provide?
Well, basically, we would need to know, technically, we need to know who the owner is now, what your intent is with the property. Like, you might need to have a conditional letter of ownership as well, as long as what the fines are, what the fines were imposed for. So the council has the full packet of information to be able to decide what they want to do moving forward.
Okay. We are a light industrial manufacturing company. So we've manufactured diesel hydraulic power units, hydraulic submersible sludge, mud, trash pumps, maintenance class dredges for canals, waterways, marinas, that kind of thing. And that's what we would use the property for. I've owned the business for 23 years. I acquired it, it was already 35 years old. So we've got about 55 years worth of legacy equipment out in the industry, around the country, actually globally. That is still the course of our operation. We just are looking for more space.
Well, and I have no doubt about it, and it's a great idea. I wanted to see it come to fruition, but I think, it really needs to be cleaned up there. And I don't think the council will have an issue, moving forward with it. But I'd also like for them to have all the information and for legal to be able to review it before the council commits to anything.
Okay, so give her Mr. Sullivan, and we'll get it on the agenda.
We've had discussions already on this. I believe he has updated information.
Yes, I am.
Mr. Sullivan.
Basically, there's two liens on the property itself. The first lien was put on back in 2018, which started on January 1st, 2018, which I calculated, it was $50 per day for the lien up until today's date, which is a total of 1,920 days. That's a total of $96,000 over the lien. The second lien began on August 29th of 2019. I calculated up to today's date, $50 a day, 1,315 days for $65,750.
Thank you.
That's kind of the summary of why we are looking for the written release in order to move forward with the purchasing of the property at this point. So I will prepare a package and we'll see what the next step is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Mr. Warren?
I'm gonna speak on open comment, and I'm also on the agenda item as well, Mr. Mayor.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, I want to speak to the issue of the property of Mr. Randy. I think with as much fight as the community on the north side of the tracks in Marion Street has put into trying to beautify that area, myself and many other people are very supportive of Mr. Randy coming in there, buying that building, making those improvements. And I know it's open comments and there's not an agenda item so that you can't take action on this particular step tonight. But I do hope, Mr. Mayor and Council, that when it comes before the Council as an agenda item, that y'all will fully support it. Because as you know, there's two things mainly left on that strip as an eyesore. That's what I call the old Club Mansion building. People call it Wicks Lumber, 084 Lumber, but and also the junkyard. And I think that someone is willing to make an investment to that degree in the old Wicks Lumber building. I think that's fantastic. As soon as you come across the track, you look over there, he's gonna beautify that. Hey, we should be supporting it, praising him, and encouraging it. And we need to hopefully start looking at the Brownsfield grant, Mr. Mayor and Council, so we can go ahead and work out something with Brian Lentil. Every time he see me, he told me a deal is a deal. He's still willing to relocate. If we can go in there and find him a piece next to a rail spurt and get the Brownsfield grant to go in there and clean it up and have some money left over to hopefully help them to get another spot. So those are two eyesores left, and I pray that the council will move forward in getting things finished, worked out on that end. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Bowden?
Been about it, Mr. Mayor, and like Mr. Warren, I intend to speak to that before, but I'm gonna use this public comment to speak to that also, because I would not have enough time. I'm glad to see my good friend, Mr. President, so he can bear witness to what I'm about to say. But there's a lot of conversation about the Richardson Gym, Richardson Recreation Center, Richardson Community Center. I remember the time, Mr. Mayor, when it was just a gym, hot, run down, play some basketball in there, and that kind of thing. Richardson Gym Recreation Center got to be a center because of a lawsuit. The NAACP filed a lawsuit in 1978. Part of that lawsuit identified that the Richardson Gym should be brought up to par with Southside at that time. And that's how we went from being just a gym to a Richardson Recreation Center. The lawsuit was filed in 1978. It was enjoined again in 1981. Wasn't settled until 1984, and I was the NAACP president at the time, as the president was the secretary. So I say that to let you know that things didn't happen out there because the government decided they wanted to do it. It happened because the government was forced to do it by people who realized that we were not being treated fairly enough for the railroad track. It's been said, Mr. Mayor, that the conscience of a community is how you treat senior citizens and how you treat your youth. And I'm of the opinion that our young people in this community are not being treated with the same type of respect and dignity that they should be treated with when it comes to recreation. I've always lived inside the city. I expect the city to treat the inner city council to treat the city residents with much more respect than the county does. The county now, when they talk about the Richardson Recreation Center, matter of fact, Tim Murphy said at the last meeting that he did not want to see the Richardson become a after-school daycare. Now, I know what he meant by that. What he meant by that, he don't want the county paying for kids coming down there being dropped off at the center. He wanted to do something else, but he had no idea what he wanted to do. I believe that those of you who live inside the city limits, you have a responsibility to the inner city. The people on the county government, they don't think in that light. Not one of them live inside the city limits, not one. They don't even know what it's like to wake up at night and hear a gunshot. It don't bother them. There's a direct relationship, Mr. Mayor, between youth unemployment and youth inactivity and crime. So it just seems to me that the city should be concerned about what's going to be offered at the center. Not how pretty the city is, not they got a big generator out there. It's what's being offered. I've been going out for the last couple of weeks because I knew it was going to be a discussion, just to see what's going on. In the morning time, I don't see no young people out there. I see people going to play pickleball. I don't have no problem with that. In the evening time, there's not a whole lot of kids going out there because there's no activity being offered. The county run it now, but the county really is not offered anything that I can see that's a benefit to our community. So I think that unless the county is going to provide some services, then the city needs to talk about how they're going to operate. But I finished my comments when I get back up, Mr.
Okay. All right. I think the last two I have is about Richardson, so we'll move into that, item 4. So, Mr. Lenore Johnson, if you want to speak.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I want to address this issue from two perspectives. First is the social aspect of providing recreation to youth. We all have a responsibility to invest in our youth because our youth are our future. And I know, having worked in corrections and education for more than 40 years, that if you do not add an element of recreation to kids' development, you're going to pay for it on the other end of that, and that is in corrections. I presently work as a chaplain at Union Correction Institution, and have an opportunity to talk to a lot of young people that come there for lockup. And because they have the social skills, academic skills, that a person needs to be successful in life, they end up in one of our institutions. I don't think we can afford to not make the investment of recreation at Richardson Community Center. First is that as far as the city is concerned, it's really a great deal in what the county is offering. Commissioner Young, having worked at the community center, knows the costs of the maintaining that infrastructure out there, as well as the staffing. You can easily write down a figure of $400,000 to $500,000. Not to mention sometimes the problems that you have with staff in any situation. And having only to make a contribution of $150,000 to what is absolutely paramount for the development of young people, to me, is a no-brainer. Our city, a neighboring city of Live Oak, contributes $200,000 to the county for recreation, but the city of Live Oak. I'm thinking that Lake City, I think Lake City is a progressive city, one that is wanting to be the example to all of the surrounding towns, you know, whether it's Jasper, Live Oak, Lake Butler, whatever neighboring town we have. I think Lake City got to set the example. I couldn't imagine Lake City not wanting to contribute to recreation for youth in this community. It simply wouldn't make any sense to even think that. There's no free ride. We all have to make a contribution. And I think this offer from the county for the city to make this $150,000, you ought to jump on it. Because trying to do it otherwise and having the city do it, I don't think you want to maintain that cost. So I would encourage you to think about the value of both the social implication as well as the economic savings that this city could provide for its citizens. I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you.
Mr. Mayor,
Presley?
I'm Glenn Presley, Post Office Box 402, Lake City, Florida. Thank you, Council, the Mayor and the Council for allowing me to address you this afternoon. First of all, let me ask this question, Mayor. We had a grant of some $2 million. It's rumored that has been given back or refused by the city. What's the status of that?
We asked for it to be amended and, so we hadn't done anything formally with it. It's still there.
Repeat that, Mayor, please.
It's still in limbo. We tabled it last time.
But now when you say limbo, what does that mean?
We had the staff go and ask about what we could modify it.
So in essence, you're saying that you have not.
Like, we ain't turned it down, we ain't accepted it.
Yes. Thank you so much. My comments would be similar to what Leonard Johnson just said, and I don't want to be repetitious, but let me just say to you, if the county, if you can't work out a deal with the county, what happens to Richardson? Well, I can tell you what's going to happen. If that happens, there's no Richardson. There's no Richardson because there's no way possible for you, the city council or the city of Lake City, can support what's necessary, financial and otherwise, to keep Richardson going. I'm here basically for the young people in Lake City and Columbia County. Somebody needs to speak for them, and I'm here to do that. I think, as Mr. Johnson said, some arrangements need to be made. We're talking about $150,000. Well, Live Oak has a similar situation. They're giving their council some $200,000 to operate. And it seems to me that something could be worked out. I remember when we had the Blanche situation, Blanche Hotel situation, we said, we don't have the money, we don't have the money. But you found that money. You found the money to operate the Blanche Hotel. And additionally, you agreed to supply funds for the company if the building was not, if the building was unoccupied. But again, let me just say, I hope that you see fit to support the boys and girls of Columbia County. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, my name was called earlier, so if you don't mind, I would like to respond.
Okay.
And I just want to let everyone here know that I'm speaking on behalf of District 10, the City Council, as well as the young people in this community. I first want to say, I keep hearing what the city cannot do. The city doesn't have the money. You all are calling us broke, and then the county's asking for money. We're not broke. And the statement was made, we found money for the Blanche. And guess what? We'll find money for Richardson Community Center. It will not shut down. The $150,000, if the city agreed, if the city agreed to the $150,000 for recreation, be mindful, the city already, for Timmons tournament, somewhere in the area of $8,000. Richardson Community Center, somewhere in the area of $14,000. This is per year. I believe that'll carry recreation. And not only that, Richardson Community Center has the potential to run itself if it had the minds to run the center. This center has been, we've held these young people hostage. We've held the community hostage because this center has so much potential. And if you open your eyes, you can see it. Y'all call us blind. We can't see our budget. We can't see what the county can do. I'm looking at what the county is doing and I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with recreation. I'm not impressed with what's offered for the seniors. I'm not impressed with the social, Mr. Linworth, last name. Johnson, thank you, sir. And let me tell you something, Richardson Community Center, if left here today, if we leave here today, and it's understood that we're not going to give that $150,000, and I'm just gonna tell you, I'm not for it. That we're not gonna give that $150,000, it won't go away. Those young people will have a great center to attend. The older people will have a great place to attend. It will show you how to run it, since we're degraded. The county's saying what we can't do. We don't have the mind to do this. We don't have the mind to do that. Some of the council members don't know what they're doing. Show and tell, baby. We'll show you what we can do at Richardson Community Center. Stop degrading us. We have great minds up here. We'll make it make sense. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Ms. George. Real quick.
You know, sometimes it's better to keep your mouth closed. I won't say that.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Thank you.
I won't say that. That's okay.
I appreciate that.
But let me say this. When the city had Richardson, given to Richardson, what did the city do with Richardson at that time? They closed it. Richardson was closed for 4 or 5 years. And you didn't have the money. Ma'am, let me ask you one question. Do you know what the light bill is at Richardson is at this time?
We've researched all of that, Mr. President. I would be standing here saying,
No,
what
but just tell us what it is.
I won't state an amount.
I can tell you
It's
now,
gonna be different. It won't be the
light
same
bill
anyway.
itself now is $100,000 annually at Richardson. And we keep saying we have the money, we're gonna show you. You had it before, and you showed us what you could do with Richardson. You closed it. Our children were denied the opportunity to go to the gym. But I don't wanna get in there, you know, I don't wanna be ugly. But thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Ms. George.
Okay, I hear a lot of people, I've taught children for 10 years at the alternative school challenge. Let me tell you, kids are bored, the streets are open. We don't have any, the county have it now, we don't have anything going on. Now people ask, what's our contribution? Our contribution is the building, it's the facilities. As Ms. Young stated, I'm not impressed. I don't see any activities out there. I see pickleball, I see a lot of activities for the adults. We need other stuff. We used to have 4-H out there. We used to have people out there teaching us how to crochet, how to sew. We used to, in the morning time, my grandma used to go down there every morning. It was all the elderly there in the morning because the kids were in school. Now we got the gym open and nobody ain't there. We're wasting resources right there. Why is it open if it's not there for seniors? Now, our tax dollars are the contribution because guess what? City residents, we're paying the county, we're paying money to the county. What do we get? What do we get out the county? The county got a bigger pocketbook because they get money from not only county residents, which is more, but they also get money from the city. The city purse is a little smaller because guess what? All y'all get is the money from us, 12,000 people. That's it, not 65,000. They got 65,000. They want to ask you to give me $5 out your little bit of money. You ain't got but 10. And I'm not saying that you broke, but compared to the city, the county can afford that, but we're already paying for these services with the county. When we city residents pay our taxes, y'all don't get a dime from county residents, but the county get a dime, they get money from us. But then you're gonna ask us for money. It seems like the county is trying to take money from us and trying to break the city, which they can't do, because as Mr. Bailey said, we got great minds up here, and it's a whole new council. You know, we already given them, but just if you give them money, that does not guarantee programs. They already been, they had the facility for how many years? We don't have any programs. The youth programs are willingly nothing. Every Friday night, everybody in the city knew where their kids were. Every Friday night when we were younger. Where were we on Friday night? We was at that gym because it was a dance every Friday night when you left that football game and everybody was home by 12:15 because everybody's mama was in the parking lot. That's where we were, and we knew everybody. But everybody knew where their children were. Everybody who got children in here that age know their children was at the gym. It was a game room there during the day. Summertime, especially when you finish your homework, you couldn't wait to go to the gym because everybody there. We had dance practice, we had dances. Not only dances, we had talent shows. I used to dance in the talent show. We used to have practice every afternoon, so we got to get ready for the talent show. Boys and girls, we ain't got time to shoot. We got to get ready because we got to show out on Friday and let everybody see our skills. But if you give them more money, that does not necessarily mean programs. That's the whole purpose of my point. That's my point. If you give them more money, that does not guarantee programs in the city. Is already giving them money because we already paying them taxes.
Thank you.
I would like to, Mr. Presley, on the COVID grant. The COVID grant, we did find out that we cannot convert it to the storm grant. You asked the question about the COVID grant. Yes, sir, the COVID grant cannot be converted to a storm grant, and that was the question when we talked about it prior to this meeting. And another thing is about that COVID grant. Under that COVID grant, we cannot deed to the county. We cannot deed Richardson Community Center to the county.
Mr. Warren?
Mr. Mayor, as I approach for my minute start, I want to let everybody know this, and it's a fact, that the city has always ran a better recreation outfit in this community than the county. And his name is Wayne Jernigan. Any highlights of anything positive about the recreation center at Richardson, it was up under the city banner. It was never up under the county banner. The county has never produced nothing up on the recreation banner that's been impressive to nobody in this community since 2007, since they entered into that lease. You can't name one thing that they're notarized for in this community up on the recreation banner in the inner city. But if you go back prior to 2007, when Wayne Jernigan was there, those were the highlight years, and that was up under the city, Mayor. And that's a fact. Mr. Mayor and Council, in way of introduction, let me just go and say that I would like to express my disappointment and frustration as to how the county administration and the county commissioners have handled this Richardson situation. I also find it extremely disrespectful that nobody from the county reached out to Councilwoman of District 10, in which Richardson is located. I find this to be extremely misogynistic behavior. Let's talk facts. Since 2007, which is 15 years, the county leased Richardson from the city and never asked for a dime. The county said all they wanted was the deed. The county has Richardson in their physical budget, in which they haven't used half that money this year in total operation costs. Fact. The county isn't asking the town of Fort White to commit any dollar amount to an identical setup as Richardson, which the school system just donated them a school to do exactly what Richardson does. No commitment. Asked them for $0. The county brags about how much surplus money they got. And they said they will come up with money for the kids. Now it comes down to which kids. The county just voted to spend $2 million on a capital project, which was the Lake City Reporter building, outside of their physical budget. That means they got a lot of money to spend and play with when you do a capital project with $2 million outside of your budget. The county has conveniently found money for Richardson when they wanted to, as in the last 15 years have shown. Lastly, perhaps the county, as the new owners of Richardson, should be pitching the $150,000 idea to the TDC not the city. The county should seriously consider partnering with the TDC regarding Richardson like they do with Southside Recreation. In closing, you don't give the county a multi-million-dollar asset and then give them money to run it. The city shouldn't ever try to cut money from other programs or try to find money in their budget to financially support property they don't own. When the city didn't have this financial obligation as owners, we didn't have to worry about this. Now, if the city, from time to time, would like to make donations as their budget see fit, then that's a horse of a different color and race. But to be bullied or forced to commit money the city doesn't have is financially crazy. Vote no.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
Mr. Mayor, at the risk of being redundant, I'm of the opinion, the $150,000 from the city to the county, I've always, even when I was on city council, I always opposed the idea that if the county gives $50,000, then the city ought to give $50,000. But I am a county resident, and it's insulting to suggest that we should pay double because we're gonna benefit from it. We those who live in the city. I personally think, and I say this on the record, I personally think there's resistance to recreation on the Board of County Commission. It is. They don't talk about recreation. They talk, oh, that center looks so good. The center's so nice. They're doing a good job down to the center. A good job what? On the building? I'm telling you, I've been going down for the last month, every morning, almost and every evening. I don't see no activity. There's nothing going on. I would resent $150,000, my tax dollars I'm already paying as a county resident. You know, the city should not be required to give $150,000 just so the center will operate. As Mr. Warren said, the county been operating the center for the past since 2017, when it was, 2017. They never asked the city for a dime. Why is it now? Why is it now at this point in junction, they will come back and say, well, we're willing to take this deed back if you give us $150,000. Give me a break. I'm a county resident, and I will go back and tell you this again. Now, one of those county commissioners live in the city. The inner city got different needs. And those of you who sit on the city council should recognize the needs of the inner city. You can't expect the county commissioner to recognize it. They don't live here, they don't go here. They drive by, they go out to the gym and visit the center and visit every now and then. I'm of the opinion, Mr. Mayor, that it should be a recreation center that offers community service. It shouldn't be a community center that offers recreation. We should offer recreation, and anything else we want to do for the community, we can do it. The renting out the facility, that should be a city responsibility. If somebody want to lease the cafeteria to have a party or a reunion, that's funds to come back into the city. President Nye is going through a nonprofit board. That money can go back into the city, whatever they generate in funds. Whatever the Richardson Advisory Board generated in funds, that money can come back into the city to operate that center. There's no reason for that. There's absolutely no reason that number one, it should not be a community center, it should be a recreation center. We shouldn't compare that with Winfield and Westside. It's a whole different story. It was set up for recreational purposes, not to have parties and activities. Recreation should be paramount. And those of you who live in the city, all of you who live in the city, you should recognize that the inner city needs is different. And if you all can't provide for the inner city needs, nobody can. And I agree with Ms. Young. When you start saying what you can't do, you never will do it. But you can do it. There's money can be found. We're talking about the rest of this fiscal year. And you can make it happen if you want to. And I'm like Mr. Warren, I would not vote. I would be upset if you decide to give them $150,000 of our tax money.
Thank you. Okay, that's all I have. So, Mr. President, go.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Got one more. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
No. I'd like to address the council. Ms. Savannah said something to me.
We gotta go. Man, we gotta go. We do this all night.
We've had public comments, let's just move on.
She asked for more time when I spoke. I think I should
That's
have.
because my name was
That's only fair.
No, we're good.
Well, my thing is, this letter that the county sent to the city, when the city had the deeds, and the county, everything that you see done out to Richardson, the county did it. When the city had the deed, the county asked the city for not one red cent. When the city agreed to give the county, which it was no more than right to give the county the deeds, we gave the county the deeds. And giving them the deeds, now they're gonna turn around and jack us for $150,000 That's wrong. I don't care who looks at it, that's wrong. Now, the city gives different organizations that come before us, they come before support, donations or whatever you want to call it, the city gives money. And giving money, that's giving back to Richardson Community Center. Now, if they came to me personally and say, Jake, what can you do, what can you give to the county to help support the recreation department? I would say, well, let me check and see what we can do, instead of just giving us a figure and telling you're gonna do it this way or else. I'm not going for that. But I'm willing to help support the recreation at Richardson Community Center. But it's gonna be not on what they want, it's what the city can do. We already on the hook for that building across the street. And what they're trying to do is trying to get us again on another hook for this $150,000 a year. That's wrong. I will not support giving $150,000 a year to nobody. We can come together, city and county, however they want to do it, and see what the city can afford to do. But outside of that, no.
Okay.
Well, with that being said, I make a motion.
Mr. Mayor. Oh.
Wait,
I make the motion that we send the letter back to the county, stamp no. We will not give you $150,000, period.
Well, this is just Jay now. I'm willing to work with them if the city can control the money that we're gonna give to recreation.
Mr. Mayor.
yes,
So one, I agree with a lot of the speakers that we don't need to cut a check to the county in any amount. I don't see that. I see if we do decide to fund programs, the programs will be funded by city dollars, not dissimilar from how we fund other asks that we get, specific to what the program is. Now, the community needs to decide what the programs are. That's one thing. I'm not a fan of the athletic programs. I think that's a waste of time. I'd rather see STEM, research, something that's gonna help these kids find a job into the future, something that looks forward. Robotics, I'd like to see Florida Crown offer adult education. I think we could do that. I would like to see the police department have a presence regularly, something where they would have an officer to get to know the people in the community. I did speak to the chief. I know he's willing to do that. It would cost about $26,000 annually to have an officer there 5 days a week for 4 hours. I think that would be invaluable. I think if we got together and created a plan where we control the funding, not give the county the money, one, that wouldn't work. And I think the number is closer to 100,000. I would say if we, and where I come up with the numbers, what are we budgeting currently? What can we do that doesn't affect the current budget? It may be too low, it may be just right. But we could take funds, like right now, we're cutting a check for $15,000 to basketball. I was unaware, and maybe some other people were, that check actually goes back to the Richardson Community Center Board. Right there's $15,000 that we could address this year toward different programs that will be more focused on the holistic, what do we need to help our kids progress academically. Now you gotta have the fun stuff too, but it's the academic piece that's gonna change their lives forever. The number of people that become a professional athlete, very low. The number of people that have an opportunity to attend college, everybody out there can do it, everybody. So I would say, instead of turning them down out of hand, I would like to see a counter proposal to say, we will support programs at Richardson because it's the right thing to do, first and foremost, but we would control that money in a way that it's on the best way to be spent. I saw the budget prepared by Ms. Taylor for Richardson. It looked like, I believe it was $240,000 just for the rest of this year and about $580,000 next year. I think that's very conservative with some of the other costs. I could see that number being dramatically higher. Where do those funds come from? What are you gonna cut? There's something else to be cut. If you allocated, say, $50,000 for the current year, you could easily cut that. You could take that from basketball, You could take that from the 20,000 that's sitting there unaccounted for, all in the public assistance, that gets you to 35. There's another 5,000 sitting there for the police charity for their ball. Right there, and then plus about 10,000 worth of labor from the police department to be there on site. So that gets you to 50,000 for the current year. That doesn't affect the budget at all, and it gets us a start. What I'm concerned about is Richardson going to close? That's not good for anybody, but the programs have to be correct also. And so I think we have an opportunity that we can develop the programs. Now, I know that's not what the county asked for in this letter, and when you look at it, but what I think is we should send back to them an offer, say, hey, we're willing to invest in programs in the community because it's the right thing to do, but they need to do the right thing and accept the need and pay for the capital expenditures and the operations. They need to fund employees to do it, just like it was mentioned tonight. Look at the other community centers. Why is Richardson singled out? As a city resident, we pay the full 8+ meals to the county. Fort White does too. Why are they treated differently? So, another thing, someone mentioned the population difference. So the city's 15% of the population of the county, but we pay 25% of the county's taxes. So to me, they should go above and beyond. So I would be in favor of earmarking money for programs regardless of what the county wants to do. I would say we have 50,000 this year, and then talk to staff to see what we can do next year. There's other things. We need to revisit some of these funding things. The county's about to start an animal control. Well, guess what? Every one of us lives in the county. Why should we pay separate for that if they're gonna take over ownership of it? Right now, we both currently have a contract with an outside organization, but if they take it over, we're county residents, provide us the service. Yep. So I would be in favor of earmarking funds for programs at Richardson, independent of what they're doing.
I agree with you. I'm really worried about $700,000-800,000 a year, because I think that's a more realistic number that we're gonna have to deal with. And I don't want us to not be able to do it, but I agree with you that those programs are necessary, that we contribute so much money a year for programs, and instead of just saying, no, we're not gonna give you nothing, negotiate it and say, let us make a contribution, but not just write a check.
I think we'd have to control the programs. Maybe what would be best is to have some kind of like a steering committee, say these are the programs. Someone like Ms. Young could handle, working with the community, invested people in the community, the people that use Richardson, and say what's the right program. There's tons of programs available that we could have a big impact with a small amount of money. If we could get by with not paying that whole employee cost and the upkeep and the capital expenditures, they're spending about $1 million a year when you go through their budget. We don't have $1 million a year. We can be creative, we can come up with funds, we can rent the facility. Currently, we got Teen Town, an outstanding facility. We got Memorial Stadium, we can rent it, and not an outstanding facility, but it can be rented. So there's things we can do. We are hamstrung a lot by previous commitments, previous boards made. I know we mentioned one tonight that could be, right now it's not costing us what it could cost us. But, a change in the economy, the change in people renting that building, and then we're on the hook for more funds, we're gonna have to figure out where that comes from contractually. So to me, I would like to see an allocation of $50,000 for the current year toward Richardson programs specifically, and I would like to see directing staff to look into what we can budget for the next proposed budget year.
That was the motion I thought, Mayor. Didn't I hear a motion?
Yes,
You have a motion on the floor.
but I haven't got a second yet.
You need to ask for it.
Ms. Young, what was your motion?
My motion was to say no to the request of the county through the $150,000.
Oh, I'll second that for sure. Second.
Okay, discussion by council. I can support saying no to just writing a check, but I think we need to put something in there about that we are willing to do something. And that's just my opinion.
I believe, and I know we're pressed for time here. a workshop is necessary. And I don't wanna go back and say, I said we was gonna end up with our back against the wall, and here we are with our back against the wall. This is water under the bridge, we should have already done this. But we have to, a workshop is very necessary. I understand I hear what Mr. Sampson's saying, but I wanna say this. First of all, we're looking at all these thousands of dollars it takes to run Richardson Community Center, but we're looking at how the county ran the center. First of all, you gotta have your own unique way of using it. You don't run it, you don't use them for an example. If we're sitting here saying, we're not impressed, why would you go through and follow the same pattern? We have to, the city, and we gotta stand on our own 2 feet. We can see these things happening, but are we gonna put it into action? We're depending too much on others. We have it. We have what it takes to work it. And if we decide to do the programs, then I'm fine with that. But I just don't like the way we count out. We're not that weak. Come on, council. We have to stand up. We're stronger than this. We gotta stop saying I can't. We can. Anything you want to do, you know, you gotta move some things around. You gotta reprioritize some things. There's some things that are happening that's not necessary. You gotta shift this stuff around and get it to where we're dealing with Richardson Community Center here. And we gotta look farther than where we're sitting right here. We gotta look farther than today.
Mr. Mayor, so the budget that Mr. Dow had prepared, was that based on how we could run the center, or was that based on how it's currently being run?
Basically, it was a combination, Councilman, of what we pull from what the county, the several different budget sheets that they sent us, and basically what they had previously put into Richardson. And this was just kind of a pro forma on what, if we had to operate it with staffing and everything for the rest of the fiscal year.
Mr. Mayor, I have another point of view on that. I think it's dereliction of our duty to not make the county pay the operational expenses at Richardson like they're paying it at every other community center. Why should we take on that expense for the whole city when we're county residents too? To me, they need to continue making the operational expense. So if it, you know, and we do need programs, regardless of that, we need programs. Programs have got to be done. And I think there's a list of programs we could do with focus. I heard that the county had potentially identified someone possibly with strong ties to Richardson that could make a big difference. And I would be in favor of working with them if, you know, with whoever the county will put in there as a director. They obviously need change. Richardson needs change. It's common. That's what needs to happen. I'd be in favor of creating a partnership that would extend beyond that. I don't see why we couldn't invite Career Source, the school board, the college. I mean, there's so many different partners could be brought in. But to fund the operations of Richardson, we can be very creative, but looking at the budget, is 2 different things. Where are you gonna cut? Which employees are we gonna tell no longer work here so we can fund Richardson? And that's where it's gonna be difficult. Or whose taxes are we raised that can't afford a raise when the economy's like it is? So could we cut out $170,000 in salary? Yeah, we could do that. We'd have volunteers running. Overall, there's still fixed costs. There's still capital expenditures. When you own real estate, you're gonna spend. The county's spending $400,000 to $600,000 every year on Richardson. I don't know where we get that money from.
Did we get a second?
Yeah, you have a second. We're in discussion.
Anything else? All right. Second, call roll.
Let me just to reiterate the motion. The motion is to send a letter back to Columbia County stating that we will not give the $150,000 as they asked. Is there a on that? Ms. Young?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Can everybody in the audience hear them?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make another motion in our discussion that we would allocate $50,000 of the current fiscal year toward programs at Richardson. That way we already have money funded that we already have, so it's not spent out of the budget. Regardless of how we go, that's money that could be moved where we need it to move. And this is the easiest part because what it'll do is stop us from writing checks to different organizations. So I would make a motion that we'd allocate $50,000 this current fiscal year toward programs at Richardson. The $50,000 will be funded by LCPD having an officer on site for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. That amounts to $10,000. Additionally, allocating $20,000 from public assistance expenditures labeled promotional events, reallocating $15,000 from Columbia Youth Basketball League and $5,000 from the Policeman's Ball designated charity. And I make that motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any further discussion? Ms. Oxley, call the roll.
Hold on just 1 minute, Mayor, let me get this motion down. So the $50,000 is coming from the $20,000 in public assistance.
$15,000 from Columbia Youth Basketball League, $5,000 from the Policeman's Ball designated charity, and $10,000 in administrative costs from the police department staffing an officer there.
Mr. Mayor, before we vote, I have a question. Would it be feasible or a thing to do to bring back the city recreation committee to kind of see where these funds are being spent?
We could have a committee for that, it didn't have to be just a committee to oversee these funds.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, perhaps we need a specific committee just for the programs at Richardson because I think labeling it recreation, that's one of the things. I don't want to get caught with, do we want to be funding pickleball or cornhole? I know Ricky likes the cornhole. Or do we want to be funding rolling out basketballs? I mean, that's all great stuff. That gets kids excited. But I think if you had a committee and you got, had a councilman person on it, if you had community involvement on it, kind of like any other ad hoc committee we have, that would get together. I mean, I'd be all for that.
Me too. All right, anything else? Ms. Oxley, call the roll.
Mayor, may I ask a clarity question? Earlier in the discussion, we had talked about possibly sending a counter proposal letter to the county. Does that need to be folded into the motion that that's the plan that we would like to say that we're going to do this in programming in lieu of that? Or we're just
Kinda
making
way
the
I
motion
I
for
would
the
say that.
50,000? I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
It's just like, we're not just telling them, no, we're not going.
That's
It's just
fine.
what our plans are.
Oh, we don't want to tell them no?
I mean,
Oh, no, we're telling them, we're not writing a check. Yeah, we're not writing them a check.
Just need to clarify the motion, I think,
Yes,
Ms. Sykes.
please, yes.
I would clarify that we would include that in a letter.
Instruct staff
Does
to,
the second agree with the amendment?
Yes.
I'll get that cleared up and get it written down a little better. All right, Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
sorry, yes, ma'am? Yes. Mr. Jernigan,
Yes.
and Mayor Witt.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, while we're under this topic still, would it be the right time to develop parameters to instruct staff to come back with a proposal for a committee? Specifically for Richardson, I mean, now would be, I mean, not to vote on tonight, but go ahead and instruct them to flesh out what that would look like and get everyone's input.
Okay, item 6. 5, City Council Resolution 2023-016. Kenny, will you read that back to me?
Want to read?
Yes.
Okay. City Council Resolution 2023-016, a resolution of the City of Lake City, Florida, adopting revised public records request policy, providing for repeal and previous policies, providing for severability, and establishing an effective date. And would just remind the council that this is currently has been tabled, so any movement on this particular resolution will need to first be accompanied by a successful motion to remove from the table.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to remove this from the table.
Second.
Ms. Acker, call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Mr. Warren, you want to speak to this?
Yes, sir. Question, Mr. Mayor, and maybe whoever needs to answer the question is, I think this was an issue that I spoke on at the last discussion that got tabled concerning public records requests. Did we go back and do anything different or amend anything, I guess, with, what was it that we were, Ms. Sykes, if you can help me remind, was it something that had to do with the amount of time that would be allocated to helping people get a public records request? Did that change any, or are we going with the original proposal that was laid out?
Yes.
The old policy was 15 minutes for free or 15 pages of records for free. The new policy, the one that was proposed last time, the one that got tabled, was 30 minutes of time for free and 30 pages of documents for free. That was the one that got tabled.
Ms. Sykes, other cities, and we got bigger fish to fry, and so I'm not going to really strongly advocate and fight on this one. But other cities do give more leniency toward how much lead time is spent on giving public records requests. But you're in the office, you know what comes in and whether or not people are being treated fairly with that amount of time. So we've trusted your judgment for this long. So I'm gonna rock with that unless I hear a complaint within the community or something otherwise where people are complaining that they're not getting the public records requests or they're being charged an exorbitant amount of money they can't afford in order to get public records requests. That hasn't made it to my ears. Therefore, Mayor, I no longer oppose the idea of moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Just for informational purposes, this might be of interest to you, Mr. Warren. Out of the 644 requests that we made that we answered last year, we only charged for 42 of them. And that was an amount of about $5,000 something. One of the requests was almost $3,900. One request. So we're only collecting a little less than $1,500, if that. So it's not a lot of money for 600 requests.
We're trusting your judgment.
Yeah.
Is there a motion as to City Council Resolution 2023-016?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2023-016.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second, discussion. This is kind of double what we're doing. And it's taking a lot of time for all the departments and all that. I think this is something that we can do, see how it works. If we want to modify it down the road, we can do that, but I think this is a step in the help the citizens.
Well, this came up in our ethics training on Monday about the time. And it was pretty much the city's discretion on how they would charge.
I'm told.
Okay, Ms. Sykes, call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yeah.
Ms. Young?
Yeah.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, number 6 is City Council Resolution 2023-022. Can we read that by title?
Yes, sir. City Council Resolution number 2023-022. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of a contract with Career Source Florida Crown, providing for the implementation of the Summer Youth Employment Program to include training and employment opportunities with the city from June 5th, 2023 through July 13th, 2023, and providing an effective date.
Okay, is there a motion as City Council Resolution 2023-022?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make that motion on resolution number 2023-022.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, any discussion? Actually, call the roll, please.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mayor Whit?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I want to make a comment. That's one of the best projects we have going right now. And the partnership with Career Source and the police department and the county, it shows what successful outcomes can look like. If you look at the report from last year, I recommend everyone read that. It looked like it gave some opportunities for people to earn some money. It helps people with misdemeanor records, young children have an opportunity to better themselves so they don't get stuck in, just be entitled, I had a misdemeanor, now it's over. So this program, I would like to see an expansion of this next year. I think 41 took part. I would love to see that get over 50 as we go forward.
Next is City Council Resolution 2023-035. Mr. Kennedy, read that by title.
City Council Resolution number 2023-035, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver a deed conveying to the Board of Commissioners of Columbia County, Florida, a parcel of real property with improvements.
Okay, Mr. Warren, did you want to speak to this?
No, sir, I no longer want to speak on that.
Is there a motion as to City Council Resolution 2023-035?
Mr. Mayor, make the motion to approve resolution 2023-035.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? I spoke with Mr. Dowell on this one today, and basically it's just a road that the county needs to pave. He said it'll help us clean up some stuff too. Ms. Sykes, call the roll.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Next, City Council Resolution 2023-038. Mr. Kennedy, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2023-038, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the addition of Paul Dial as city manager and Demetrius Johnson as assistant city manager, as authorized signors of all checks, vouchers, transfers, or disbursements on all bank accounts of the City of Lake City, Florida, and providing for an effective date. And just so the council will know, the last time this particular issue was addressed, both of them, I believe, had interim tags. And now that those have both been removed, we thought it prudent, especially since we're talking about finances, to have it clear that in their now non-interim capacities in those positions, that they still maintain the same authority. So we're not changing anything. We did it just because their titles changed.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2023-038.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Item 9 is City Council Resolution 2023-043. Mr. Kennedy, read that by title.
City Council Resolution number 2023-043, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the city's participation in the, quote, Walmart settlement, end quote, as described by the Florida Attorney General, providing for the city's participation in the settlement agreement with Walmart Inc., providing for the mayor's execution of the participation agreement, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion as City Council Resolution 2023-043?
Mr. Mayor, make the motion to approve resolution 2023-043.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Do we know what the total numbers, I know it's a formula, but do we have an idea of what the amount is?
It's still a formula, I think, unless administration's got something, because I think they're still assembling litigating subdivisions and non-litigating subdivisions. We're a non-litigating subdivision. We don't have active litigation against Walmart for the opioid crisis. There are some cities, counties, et cetera, have filed actual lawsuits, and the Attorney General's trying to corral those all into this one settlement.
When we know what that number is, I'd be interested in allocating that toward the Richardson programs.
Well, I was gonna point that out before. That money, as with most money from the state, is earmarked. And the, that is the documentation for the settlement.
Yeah, there's programs in there.
And so, what I did this afternoon is I tried to go through, the money can be used for what's called approved purposes. And Exhibit A has a extremely long list of types of programs that the money can be used for, as does Exhibit B. If you review all of those, and it's pages and pages of them in small print, a lot of them are more medically related. But what caught my attention are things that we could actually use to assist. And that is, for instance, I've got 4 or 5 marked. If I may, I'll just read them out real quick that I think would fit in nicely. Funding for community drug disposal programs, funding and training for first responders to participate in pre-arrest diversion programs, post-overdose response teams or similar strategies that connect at-risk individuals to behavioral health services and supports. You go to Exhibit B, training on MAT, I'm not real sure what that stands for healthcare providers, first responders, students, or other supporting professionals, such as peer recovery coaches or recovery outreach specialists. So some of those I think would tie in potentially nicely with non-recreation programs at Richardson potentially. You've got training and development of procedures for government staff to appropriately interact and provide social other services to individuals with or in recovery from an opioid addiction. Engage nonprofits in the faith community as a system to support outreach for treatment. Offer prevention strategies such as the law enforcement assistant diversion model. I believe that's all.
I think there's several programs that can be done.
Public education for drug disposal, drug take back, funding community anti-drug coalitions. So a lot of those probably would fit in nicely, potentially with some programs.
The real question is, are we getting $10 or, like when you get that thing in the mail, you know what I'm talking about? Or are we getting thousands of dollars?
Unless administration's got something.
We haven't got anything, like you said, Mr. Cannon, we're still waiting for the run on the figures.
Whatever it is, it'll be free.
Hey, free money's good.
All right, Ms. Oxford, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, other items, discuss possible action for the nominations for Northeast Florida League of Cities 500 donation to a local nonprofit agency. Applications have to be in by April 10th. Everything else.
We have one that's in the packet. Ms. Young submitted an application.
Anybody else got anything? Get them in.
But we need to vote on it.
Yeah, time's up.
Time's up. We need,
We have one.
yes, let me pull it up from. It's the Lake City Heat Incorporated.
Right.
And it would be, since it was the only one, we could entertain a motion for the $500 to go to them.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that the $500 for the Northeast Florida League of Cities go to a nonprofit agency, Lake City Heat Incorporated.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes, you said Lake City Heat.
Yes.
Can you tell me?
It's a basketball organization and it's led by Chris Carradine.
Lake City Heat, led by Chris.
AAU basketball.
Sorry, you call the roll, please.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Item 11, discussion possible action to consider implementing a 3% convenience fee for all payments on invoice filed over the counter, transactions using a credit debit card.
Mayor Wood, I want to speak to this.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a question. Is this the, when you pay online or is just in person?
If you pay either way with a credit card or
So,
debit card.
okay, so basically if we pay cash, cause you know,
It don't affect you if you pay check or cash.
right, okay, so I start paying check or cash. The reason, it seems like we're being, I have like 7 or 8 water bills, so it'll be a 3% on all of them. I know on the new system, you can pay it all together, but then it'll be a 3% on like $500
Right.
on a water bill. So now, it seems like it would go the opposite if you paying check or cash, because now your person gotta do the work, but if you paying it over the internet, it kinda take the work out for the people. I just want a clarification on that, so I just guess we'll be paying in check.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I have a concern with that too, because if you make more people come in to pay with checks, because of the 3%, I mean, that could be quite substantial. And also, how's it affected by people on auto pay? If you auto pay with the card, would you get hit with 3%? I don't think raising fees in this environment makes sense to me. I mean, it's a large amount, we're spending a large amount, but what's the offset? If we, let's say, you look at the number of people paying with the card here, if those people show up with a check, we're just about gonna need another person to take those 467 payments. So to me, I would like to see, a little more tracking. One, is 3% an equal offset? Is that what would cover it? Does that make us money? What's the difference? I'm looking here, I see all of the people that pay that way. There's 214 EFT checks in this transaction count, but there's 2,008 credit debit cards. That'd be a lot of people to show up and start making payments. And 3% is kind of substantial. Gas has gone up, your utilities have gone up. I mean, to me, I would like to see this tabled for now in a little bit more detail. I mean, we're spending it already, but the people paying it, they also pay tax. So I wouldn't be for raising that at this time.
I would agree to table it and look at it a little bit since it's fairly new, but I know the tax collector charges it, I know the clerk's office.
And we'll give him a check because of that.
And
then you gotta wait 30 minutes to give them that check. And so,
and I know at my office, if it's a substantial amount, somebody says, you take the card and how do you want it, I'll get right there check because it's a cost. So let's look in, I would be agreeable to that, looking into it a little further before we say yay or no.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to table item 11.
The motion says to table item 11,
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
No.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, that's all of our business comments, council.
I have a comment. Chief, a few weeks ago, a lady house got shot up right there on Wilson Street. And they called 911 and they said it took the officers about 15 minutes to get there. And when they got there, one of the officers got out of his car. I'm finna show you what she got out of his car, rubbing his stomach. Said he was hungry and he had to go get him something to eat. Now this woman's house done got shot up. There's something wrong with that. Now, if my house got shot up, that would settle with me with it. So that was wrong. And for them to take 15 minutes to get there,
Anything else? We'll be adjourned.